And let's see, we're recording, and let me change the virtual background to my ISSIP background. And hello, everyone. This is Jim Sporer, a member of ISSIP, the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals, and it's my great pleasure today. I've actually spent most of the last hour talking with Ray Fisk, one of the legends in the service research area. Ray has accomplished many things. We were just talking about ServCollab, which is one of his latest efforts to help the service research community do more social innovation and be an instigator of progress. So we'll get into that in a minute. But Ray, one of the things that Ray has done that should be of interest to ISSIP members, because ISSIP's a professional association. Ray, you started the most successful service research professional association, I believe, the American Marketing Association, SERVSIG. Could you just say a little bit about when that happened? And I think ServSig is just remarkable. I love the newsletters. I love the community, the conferences. Maybe you could just say a little bit about AMA ServSig and that part of your career.
Oh, sure, Jim. I mean, I should preface it by noting that I started ServSig shortly after finishing an article with Mary Jo Bettner and Steve Brown on the history of the service field. And I started ServSig in 1993. And as a result of doing that research to write that history, I had the email address of everybody who had an email address in the service research field in 1993. And I was one of the few people I knew that had that much information. So when the American Marketing Association announced that they were going to form special interest groups, I thought somebody needs to do this. So I called Steve Brown and asked him if he knew anybody that was doing it. And he didn't know anybody who was. And then I called Len Berry, who of course is another service pioneer, and asked Len Berry. Now, both of them were also very heavily connected in the AMA. I was pretty sure if anybody knew, those two would. Berry said he didn't know anybody. And so I did it. I immediately launched into emailing everybody, say, hey, I want to start a group called the ServSig Group. Actually, it's officially Services Marketing Special Interest Group. And I just decided we had to abbreviate that to something short like ServSig. And I even dropped off regularly using the AMA part of it just because I wanted to keep it really simple. And plus I had a bit of a insurrectionist streak in me in the way I was thinking of it, in the sense that I didn't want to go with just AMA. I wanted to break the boundaries just a little bit and be more global. So we actually I had the email addresses of Everett Gumason and Christian Grunrose and many of the others. So we went global immediately. And part of our success is because of me actually having a good Rolodex, as they used to call them, of emailing all these people. And they knew me because they'd already heard from me, even though I was pretty early in my career at that point. And the other thing I would have to say is a key part of the success is that I mostly give the credit to everybody in the group, but there are 3 rules I wrote, which is that we should be open, we should be flexible, and we should be fun. And I was convinced those 3 rules might get us there, that those 3 rules would be sufficient to carry us forward. And I'm delighted that the officers today see them as, well, of course, we're open, flexible, and fun. I don't have to bring it up. I don't have to remind anybody. They seem to think they make sense too. But all the other accomplishments, the newsletter you mentioned, the various conferences we've held, the awards we've given, all of those are because of the members who got involved. And that to me has been so much fun about it, to be as the person who started it with one crazy idea, and then it takes a group to get it moving. And that's what we have.
Fantastic. And next year, because we're in 2022, so next year, 2023, will be the 30th anniversary then, I guess, of
Correct.
ServSig.
Yep,
Fantastic.
indeed. Yep. It's been a very, very fun thing to watch as it's been involved. And officially, I'm still the legacy leader, which they gave me that title about 10 years back. They decided they would give me the legacy leader title. And it's more of an honorary title than anything else, but I'm regularly asked, well, what do you think we should do based upon your experience since I've been involved all these years in something or another?
So tell me now about ServCollab. That's one of your newest things. I don't know, is that like 3 years old yet, or how old is ServCollab, and what is it? What is an instigator of progress and social
Well,
innovation?
in that case, it's tied heavily to my involvement in ServSig. And in fact, at the 25th ServSig conference that we held in Paris in 2018, 25th year of our history, not the 25th conference, I should emphasize, it was our 10th ServSig conference. But at that conference, I was asked to do a talk about the history of ServSig for the 25 years. And I finished that talk talking about a key idea that I had been developing over the last several years, which is that I thought our service research field was ready and large enough to do more than we were doing. And so I announced that I was forming a group called ServCollab, not to compete with ServSig, but to do what ServSig can't do. See, ServSig is officially still the American Marketing Association's group. It
Right.
officially can't do some things that I can do with ServCollab as a nonprofit. Well, ServCollab is not a membership organization officially. It is a nonprofit charitable organization seeking to serve humanity through collaboration. So we are collaborating with ServSig. That's our first primary collaborator. And when ServCollab can do what ServSig can't. And so the two organizations have been working together. And of course, much like my Rolodex story in terms of having all the context, well, I knew all the people in ServSig that were already officers, knew lots of the members. So I was pretty sure they wouldn't think it was just the crazy ravings of an old man, but that maybe they would listen to me and that maybe I could get people interested in it. And I'm delighted to say that's exactly what's happened. The various people who've gotten involved in as officers and working on things have each brought their own perspectives to what we're working on. So I saw it as a next step for the service research field, but also it had the ability to do things that ServSig, no matter how many of the officers might want to do X or Y, because it was a subsidiary of the American Marketing Association, those doors were not open. But ServCollab has fewer doors that are in our way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to make this a relatively brief interview, but I do hope that ISSIP can become a collaborator of ServCollab, the ISSIP community, and I would love to see that happen in the future. And I think this interview, when we get it as part of our ISSIP newsletter, that may be a catalyst for that. Just to wrap up, I know you read a lot, and do you have a couple of recommendations for us? What are you reading now? What have you read in the past that you thought would be especially good, especially if it relates to ServCollab in some way? What should we be reading to get inspired?
Sure. Well, the book that is most directly connected to ServCollab, I should start with, and that's a book called Pro-Social. David Atkins is the first author of the book, and David Sloan Wilson, and I'm forgetting the third author, unfortunately, but Pro-Social is a 2018-2019 copyright. It's based on Eleanor Ostrom's work on common pool resources. And they develop a logic and a process for trying to build collaborative groupings in scale. In other words, to go beyond just small groups into larger groups. And they have a website called prosocial.world where they are actually training people in these pro-social processes. And I'm eager to collaborate with them too, as a way, since they're already working hard on this, for us in the service research field to get better at collaboration. Many of us have collaborated in various ways, but I really think that our species needs to get much better at collaboration, which is why I actually put collab as part of the name. It's service and collab, ServCollab. I really think that's how we're going to make the progress that we need to make. With nearly 8 billion humans on this planet, we need to get, like their book title, we need to get very pro-social. We need to quit fighting with each other. We need to quit causing harm to the planet. We need to find ways of working together. And their notion of being able to build collaborative processes at a larger and larger scale is because of helping people learn the processes of doing that and to get the practice. Because I think practice is a key part of that. It takes time to learn such things and practice them. But I really think that book is the one that I'm particularly eager for us in ServCollab to learn from and to get more involved with. The other book I should mention is The Dawn of Everything that's been in recent press. I'm only about a third of the way into the book. It's written by an anthropologist, and I've forgotten the background. David Graeber is the first author, who unfortunately passed just recently at 59 of age. But they basically are throwing out some of the previous histories of the prehistory of humans. Of course, the prehistory means it wasn't written. So it's easy to accidentally misconstrue the anthropological and archaeological records, since we don't have written documentation. And they argue that many of the things that became commonplace, like hunter-gatherers and other things, foragers, etc., are actually misrepresentations of the real history of humans. And they argue that the real activities were much more creative, much more multi-spectrum in terms of what humans can do. To me, the fact that our ancestors, according to their research, might have been more interesting than we treated them as in our minds. We thought they were simplistic, sort of barely above an ape sort of logic. And that seems to be way far from the truth. And it goes back a long time in the records they've been able to find. To me, that might help expand our minds for the potential of our future, if the potential of our past was better than we think it was. So that's why I'm really enjoying that book. It's helping break some sort of logic frames that I think I had and many other people had. It wasn't as simple as that.
Well, thanks, Ray. And I totally agree. Understanding the past is a key to understanding the future and more understanding. And I do want to thank you also for the chapter you provided in the Handbook of Service Science 1, where you relayed some of that history of the service area. So thank you very much for your time. And I sent you a link to a little survey. So when if you do have a chance to do that, no rush at all. When we make this link to this YouTube available in our ISSIP newsletter, we could include some of the answers in that survey as well, if you've had a chance to take it. So that'll be good.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Ray. I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right.